This is Mikey. Mikey is unfathomably important because he is the first of the few static encounters in Pokemon Scarlet. He's also cute. My definition of a static encounter boils down to a specific Pokemon you can obtain and or interact with on every playthrough through an in-game event or overworld encounter. This won't include John Palmy on Poco Path, because that kind of static encounter is just a fancier wild spawn. There are still several other kinds of static encounters that will fit within my definition, and little Mikey falls under the gift category. Buckle up, because I'm doing a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Scarlet and its DLC using this parameter, and the very next Pokemon I see introduces us to the next static category. Alright, don't get too excited. Neil the Lechonk fits the description of a static Pokemon in that this interaction is scripted and guaranteed. This silly little Lechonk gets its own cutscene for crying out loud. Neil might be the most thematically appropriate encounter of the entire run. In a way, Koraidon is a static encounter too. Our first intervention against Nemona goes mostly according to plan. We've got a lot of ground to cover by also doing the DLC, so I'm already concerned about overleveling. But Mikey hangs tight. Sprigatito is heavily embered, and while the Palmy does get us paralyzed off the bat, Mikey powers through both turns to do colossal damage. We get by unscathed. As soon as we get access to Koraidon's bike form, I return to South Province Area 1 to reach encounter number 3. Gimme will occupy a more classic static encounter category in that, aside from being guaranteed, there are an overworld Pokemon that you have to interact with. Think of your Snorlaxes, Sudowoodos, or Kecleons. Richie won't be able to do much right now, so I could have waited to get a higher leveled one, but I was impatient. Time to head to Kitakami. Yeah, Kieran and Carmine are mandatory fights for running the DLC, but they're not the main reason we're here right now, as much as they want to be. We're here for the secret encounter at the start. Jacques is hanging out here, and he wants to teach me about Pokemon eggs. It's like when a teacher gives the students a baby doll that they have to take care of, but this time it's a living, breathing creature. I love encounters like these because this egg could hatch into one of 3 things. The options are relegated to one of the Sinnoh starters, and honestly, Marcus the Turtwig probably rounds out the team the best. But you wouldn't know that from the first gym fight, because like many other battles, Mikey solos it. I'm more of a Sprigatito guy, but I cannot argue against Fuecoco's sheer dominance in this game. Now, let's get a little controversial. By going off my definition of a static encounter, another variation of it would include trade Pokemon. Each game has a handful of NPCs waiting around offering trades, and because these specific encounters are in these specific locations every single time, Snozelot the Snom joins the ranks. I really thought I could change that name. Trying to increase Snozelot's friendship really drags on, so I put a pin in that and let Marcus stretch his legs. If Marcus had actually been born a Chimchar instead, then fighting Cloth would have been way more complicated. But he's not, so it isn't. Well, Anchor Shell does become a problem, so Richie has to tag in to take some hits. But it turns out Arvin had it covered this whole time. Alright, thanks Arvin. Thank you for that one. I appreciate you stealing the kill occasionally. With that small serotonin boost, I have the energy to jump back into the friendship grind, and... But hey! My first fully evolved Pokemon! The reason I couldn't really wait any longer for a Frostmoth was Kieran. While most of his team is still pretty manageable, his Furret packs quite the punch. Snozelot's job is to simply spam lunge while lowering their attack stat every turn, and thanks to their inability to land a critical hit, everything works out. I could have picked up a Wild Terra Pokemon instead, because that does fit my definition of a static encounter, but because I did a whole run about those, I'm only allowing myself one, and I'm saving that one for later. As you can tell, this game is essentially one massive gauntlet of boss fights, so there's no time to lose before we challenge the second gym challenge. Okay, I don't know if it looks like 30 frames for the Sunflora themselves because of my capture card. Honestly, still surreal. Brassius is a walk in the park. But with Mikey, was there really any doubt? Don't get me wrong, the flamethrower TM that was lying around near Kieran helped out a lot too. Once everything's said and done, we wind down the stream with a couple evolutions and some camping. Yeah guys, this might actually be the dream team. To start off stream number 2, we get more statics. I know it kind of seems like there are a lot of encounters under this rule set, but it's mostly front-loaded, so don't worry. A cool thing about this game is that the Titan Pokemon that you beat become available themselves afterwards. These guys fit the static category just like Richie the Gimmighoul, and Natalie the Cloth is pretty much a mandatory get. However, having Natalie in my possession isn't enough to save my other Pokemon from my poor decisions. It's tempting. Don't tell him I said that though. Oh wait, I threw! That's my bad. I apologize for that blunder. I knew the Mighty Inna had Fire Fang, but I was on autopilot while yapping, and Snows-a-Lot paid the price. Maybe Deathless challenges actually are impossible. Well, on the bright side, another trade encounter can fill the void. And while Manchester the Wooper isn't technically an outright replacement, he is good. Minigame time. If I get hit by the boulder, I have to reset the run because my character dies. It's a whiteout, so it's technically a wipe. Because if I got hit by a boulder in real life, I'd be dead. So this is actually like a lot more tense than you imagine. Bombardier is outright the hardest Titan fight, given that it's the only one with a back-to-back fight with no healing. But coincidentally, Natalie hard counters her. It's almost like this was some sort of game design decision or something. I don't know, I can't really explain it. Team Star's Giacomo is just as easily countered by Manchester, the now Quagsire. The Poniard is trivialized by my Mudbud, and the Starmobile should have been just as simple. But my Bald Axolotl had other plans. Yeah, let's Stomping Tantrum. Oh, it does nothing! Huh? Manchester? What was that? In order to pick up the slack, every single other Pokemon on my team, aside from Richie, comes out to contribute, making the first Starmobile battle a crazy involved boss fight. By attacking and switching when necessary, we were able to get by without losing anyone. But I'm just glad that I learned about Manchester's delinquency now and not in the gym. It should be noted that this is where I began my EV training endeavors. While yes, it's not really necessary for the base game, I'm planning ahead and want to be ready for the Indigo Disc DLC. Last time I wasn't, and it cost me a lot of endgame grinding. As usual with Scarlet, I'm using the anime rules for the gym fights. Because Iono brings 4 Pokemon, I also only bring 4 Pokemon. But Iono needs a much bigger handicap than that, because Natalie uses her Titan power to take out Wattrel, Manchester is immune to all of Bellibolt's attacks, so I can try to attack as much as I want for free, and Luxio also gets overpowered by Natalie. When it came to the Mismagias, I was prepared to pivot between Manchester and Neil over and over to stall out the electric and ghost attacks, but Natalie manages to land her Terra-boosted Stone Edge, making this the easiest Iono fight I've ever had. I don't think the Terra mattered. I don't know, guys. The team is really struggling. I think I should get some more encounters. First up is the Levincia trade Haunikins, who does evolve. I'm still recovering from the Betrayal and Pearl version where the NPCs trade held in Everstone, but this almost makes up for it. Then I pick up Sweeps the Bombardier. I could have gotten him earlier, but there was no point yet. Dun, 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 dun. Oh wow, it's the event Pokemon. To round off the stream for this day, I spend the last few minutes attempting solo Ogre ousting. Come on guys, I have plenty of friends. I just didn't want to pay for the online on this extra account. Honest. I heard somewhere along the lines that hard mode was actually doable on your own now that the Switch 2 version doesn't lag. My hubris and greed both bought all the way into that, but I only almost got to round 9 out of 10. I wanted to complete this because, besides the glory, you're gifted a shiny Munchlax for completing all 10 rounds. That would have been great for the team, but it's just not possible. I hate to skim through the game, but there's just too much content to get through, and I feel like we need to speed it up. So, the next day, Orthworm gets fried by Mikey, the Fire Team Starbase is invalidated by Manchester's Rain Dance, I abduct the now catchable Earth Titan and name him Ibra, Kieran gives me a big scare in our 4th match, get out! But we pull through. Huntikins takes out Kofu's lackeys, making way for Marcus to finish off the Crabominable. I get tired of waiting for a Golden Go and fight the remaining high-leveled Gimmighoul in some very low-stakes battles to get the remaining coins I need to evolve Richie. And then we head to the Poison Team Starbase. I didn't intend for the speedrun to end here, but this one was on me. Don't get me wrong, Ibra could still hold his ground against Atticus. I just didn't stall out the Sucker Punch like I should have. Revavroom is easier to counter, but since I'm not used to Ibra yet, I forgot about his Earth Eater. We could have stayed in to deal with the Naked Motor, but Manchester ends up doing the job, even if he takes more damage than he should have. Muck can't do much to us, so Manchester stays in to make up for that time he fell asleep. Oh, we eat. Let's go. Oh, okay. Ibra returns to take his spot, and he's actually fully immune to all of Muck's moves. Muck is down, bringing out the final Starmobile. The problem here is that toxic spikes are going to be set after every one of my physical attacks. That wouldn't be an issue if Ibra could stay in, but over time, the super effective flame charge easily outdamages my newest Titan. At least you almost got them to half, buddy. Switching to Richie might seem weird given their move choice, but I wanted to continue weakening them before building poison on anyone else. Now that Richie's in, I commit my Terra to get rid of the fire weakness and to massively boost Hex. Honestly, I could have continued to stay in, but the thought of a non-resisted critical spin out hitting Richie came to mind. I couldn't risk my golden goose. Marcus takes his place, immediately getting badly poisoned, and a spin out does a little more to him than I anticipated. The stab Noxious Torque follows up, but Marcus is a great tank and retaliates with an earthquake that finishes them off. I've ended up with a Torterra in so many runs on this channel, but every time they really carry their weight. Gotta love them. The Loyal 3 are next on today's chopping block, and I know you've probably got your fill of poison types, so I'll make this quick. Sweeps with an Assault Vest is mostly free to dual wing beat the Monkey Dory into smithereens. Pheasantipiti's fight goes on awkwardly long, so it takes a lot of switching, but he is taken care of. Okidoki's bulk is insane for this part of the game. Marcus helps offset that with our freshly acquired Leech Seed. Can't go wrong with Leech Seed. And while Toxic Chain is super potent, Carmine tanks hits for me, letting Manchester finish him off. There you go, nice and easy. Now, Larry, will you forgive me? I thought I would have to embarrass him with Mikey and his newfound power, but Ibra finally grew into his skin and managed to solo the gym. I might have made up that phrase, and I don't want to look it up. Nemona was countered in a very aesthetically pleasing way. Our teams had these cool parallels, it was crazy. And then we fought against Kieran, who's actually trying this time. Like, actually. It was easy for me to think things would go well this time. Like, he doesn't even have a Cramorant anymore. What could go wrong? Well, his team is balanced really well, and if they decided to go a step further and give him held items, then Kieran would be a murderer within 9 minutes. Luckily, I'm the only one with items for now, so while Shiftry gets to do a little damage, Mikey triumphs with his charcoal-boosted flamethrowers. Poliwrath was the Pokemon I was most afraid of while preparing for the fight, so it makes sense that he's out early here. My biggest worry is Belly Drum, maximizing the Roided Ribbit's attack stat. But when they commit to that move, I'm relieved. This was the only scenario where I was sure Haunekins could tag in and take them out with one Thunderbolt. I forgot where I got that TM, and I don't feel like checking. Gliscor is a hidden problem child. It also started appearing on my Twitter feed the other day, and it just won't leave. Ibra was my check, but they began setting up Hardens, so our lackluster damage against Gliscor eventually gets so minuscule that I just switched to Manchester. He enters in on another Harden, which must have boosted their crit chances too. Who would have guessed? Ice Beam rids my sight of the Flying Scorpion, and I'm so tempted to try it again against Diplin, but they likely outspeed. Richie instead takes his place to enact substitute shenanigans. Things would have worked out better if they had leftovers instead of wise glasses, but either way, I terrestrialize again for big damage. The previous Super Seat Syrup lets Diplin outspeed to use Defense Curl? A single Shadow Ball almost does it, but because they'll break our sub next turn, I prolong the matchup a little bit so that Richie could take him out with yet another sub still up. Ideally, we would safely power gen the Yanmega from here, but Probopass comes out next for an unknown reason. He ends up being a 2-hit as well, and I once again aim to have the sub up and ready for the next Pokemon. Unfortunately, the Probopass is way stronger than I anticipated, and it breaks our sub in one turn before we break them. If we didn't get rid of the Steel typing with Terra, Richie probably would have been fine to stay in here. Now, I have to do a little bit of gambling that probably scratches that itch for some of you mobile gamers out there by sending in Haunekins. The original line for this fight went AWOL, so once she tanks a Bug Buzz, Haunekins will have to get a one-shot with Thunderbolt again. But the Yanmega has a surprisingly low special defense stat, and we managed to pull through the fight without any deaths after all. Heh, I guess you should have kept the Cramorant, Kieran. With the DLC Pro Tag emotionally defeated, the Ogerpon he was fighting for challenges me to a battle that's pretty easy. Unlike the Terra only run, this time I do plan on using Ogerpon, as she fits perfectly into my static definition. However, she is a legendary, and I vowed to not use any legendaries until the Indigo Disc, where the game is balanced with them in mind. Yeah, you heard that right. I said the Indigo Disc is just like Radical Red. Maybe even Run and Bun. Or harder. Anyways, time for another speedrun. Mikey and Sweeps do just that in Rhymes Gym thanks to the silly crowd cheer boosts. Manchester commits some eco-terrorism against the Titan Great Tusk. Nemona is overwhelmed by my swag yet again. And the rhythm game is maybe 2% better on the Switch too. Tulip was engaging but ultimately couldn't win against my aforementioned swag. The Great Tusk joins my team under the name Uncle Jimmy. Mikey uses his new Choice Scarf for a nasty combo with Torch Song, letting him outspeed everything in the Ice Gym while getting perpetually stronger. And I run into a shiny. I low-key thought I could fit a shiny into the static rule set by leading into the event of the encounter itself. But ultimately, Melody here just stays on the bench as emotional support. Sorry gamers. Said emotional support at least helps Hondakins solo the Fairy Team Starbase, and helps Marcus solo both of the False Dragon Titan fights. Before we partake in the endgame, two final Pokemon join the rotation. The first being Pete the Titan Tatsugiri, and second being Spoon the Galarian Meowth from completing my Naranja Academy language classes. Or should I say, mis clases de idiomas de Academia Orange. I typically don't like skipping through most of the game like this, but again, there's so much game that I really can't help it. Especially when I have to make time for battles where I get too lost in the weeds. Such as Aries. Part of me wants to attribute this to the fact that I went off my line, but the other part of me thinks, who are you kidding? Like, look at Sweeps. Nothing stops her Terra-boosted dual wing beaks from obliterating most of Aries' team. We didn't have to worry about misses thanks to the wide lens. The real problem here was the Starmobile, as usual. This time, I fumbled. Of course, the fighting Starmobile has the stamina ability, so attacking with dual wing beat, even boosted, would provide diminishing returns. Or that's what I thought. When Manchester enters the fight, Aerie reveals her plan to set up as much as possible with shift gear. This makes her car stronger and faster than all of my Pokemon, and Manchester's Surfs are leaving a lot to be desired. On top of that, it still activates stamina. Don't get me wrong, Manchester still brings them to half eventually, but I would have preferred 0. Now we need to deal with +3 attack boosted combat torques, spinouts, and high horsepowers. And those moves are pretty strong by default. Oh, I might actually lose somebody. I might have to sacrifice Sweeps. While I'm still terrified, I stay in for one more turn to see what they do. And a combat torque brings us under half before we land another Surf. Because I know they're going for the fighting move, Richie switches in for free, and we begin PP stalling. It's not my favorite strategy in the world, but with the two scariest moves having only 5 uses, it's my safest bet. Sadly, Richie baits the less important high horsepower, so Sweep switches back because he's immune. The problem now is that they'll never willingly go for the resisted combat torque, so Richie can't switch in for free anymore and eats one of their spinouts instead. The silver lining is that spinout lowers their speed by 2 stages, so I have a chance at outspeeding them eventually. Not yet though, because they're still at +4 speed, but eventually! I continue to pivot between the two Pokemon, but not long after, Aerie begins setting up when she sees Sweeps. My multifaceted Stork continues to absorb high horsepowers, but Richie is forced to take the attacks of the artificial pocket monster. Dude, this has never happened to me before. Oh, and you know, if I did one pluck at the very beginning, I wouldn't even be in this situation right now. I'd be perfectly fine. I'd be so fine. There's high horsepower. Are they out of spinouts? They did one on you. No, they're definitely not out of spinouts. Because if they're setting up for spinout, like spinout will definitely take out Sweeps, but if it's combat torque, I have to go to Richie again. We have a Citrus Berry at least. Dude, come on! Now they're max attack, max speed. I'm backed into a corner, and I don't really have any other option but to continue stalling. High horsepower's PP dwindles, but they already have so many of them, so my main hope is stalling the move Spinout. And once those are gone, we can easily stall out the high horsepower and combat torque. Richie or Sweeps will be able to get the kill from there. As the Spinouts dwindle even further, Uncle Jimmy makes his debut to eat his own serving, and I believe this is their last one. So Sweeps tags in to tank only the one attack, because she gets parried. I did predict the combat torque coming out, but I didn't want to risk Richie on the small chance of a high horsepower being used instead. Sweeps will never get the chance to attack either way, so Richie returns to the fight, and it turns out that I miscounted. Aerie had one spinout left after all. I never even got to make it rain! Pete now makes his debut, which was only ever gonna happen in the worst case scenario. He's fast and is holding a Mystic Water to boost Surf, which at this point gets a guaranteed KO. If I had been more offensive at first with Sweeps, or countered correctly and risked a final spin-out crit on Uncle Jimmy, then I probably could have managed. But either way, I just miscounted and Richie paid the price. Hope you're making it rain in the Poke Center in the sky, buddy. I had pre-planned for the Elite Four, a challenge where I still choose to use a select 6 Pokemon like we had to in the older games, but the pre-plan had to change without Richie. I guess this is the whole rundown of the new team because I forgot to go through it properly in the stream. So let's just head in and avoid making any more mistakes. Rika is really likable as a character, but I can't help but feel like they shafted her team here. Only one Pokemon of hers has a base stat total in the 500s, and it's Donphan at 500. Marcus and Manchester take turns hitting her team with super effective moves, and we quickly move on. Did you guys know Poppy is canonically only 1 year younger than Ash? I found that out recently, and like, why does she still talk like that? Mikey gets to do what he's been doing, and utilizes his Choice Scarf and Terra to support a Torch Song sweep. I was mostly worried about Magnezone, who always lives on Sturdy and can paralyze us with Discharge. But all they do is a late match light screen. By that point, Mikey is at +4, so after the Magnezone went down, Tinkaton didn't fare much better. Larry clearly just wanted to go home, so I didn't waste his time. Mikey runs back the old reliable Torch Song strat that actually takes a lot of hidden skill to use. I could explain it, but it's a if you know type of thing. Sorry guys. Hazel, as usual, is the scariest part of the Elite Four for me. Of course, he has generally decent coverage among his dragons, but playing around his Excalibur's Terra-boosted Glaive Rush is the toughest part. Pete leads the fight as my only Mon who can consistently deal with the Noivern right away. Of course, just like my other Mons, he's been EV trained to prepare for the DLC, but this time it was absolutely necessary. I overcomplicated the interaction with Flapple by switching to Mikey to use Yawn. This was ultimately unnecessary because Pete just one-shots him with Dragon Pulse. I was ultimately concerned with the routing of this fight, and needed a particular Pokemon on the field before Bax comes in. So I basically overthought the early arrival of Flapple. Dragalge takes his place to live a hit a Dragon Pulse, but I was confident that we'd live one too thanks to our Assault Vest. They fall a turn later, which brings in Haxorus. I really wanted and expected this guy to come in earlier, because Marcus or Uncle Jimmy would have been way better here. The problem is, if they take out a Haxorus, then that would bait an Icicle Crash from Bax, which would ruin everything. Instead, I send in Manchester, who utilizes a really consistent Yawn Protect strategy. From there, Manchester ends up defeating Haxorus with Ice Beam while Terrestrialized. Getting rid of our Ground-type move removes all of Excalibur's RNG. Now, I can 100% expect the super-powered Glaive Rush and switch safely to Uncle Jimmy. His bulk would have let him live even a crit, apparently. And now that he's holding the Choice Scarf, Uncle Jimmy outspeeds to land Ice Spinner. Normally this wouldn't kill, but Excalibur takes double damage from attacks after using his signature move. Because we routed so carefully, they get one shot, and the Elite Four is done. Now it's time to challenge Gita to finally enter the rank of a champion trainer. Huntikins does her job perfectly and one-shots its Spathra with Shadow Ball. If for some reason that didn't work, we would have been safe with the Focus Sash. Speaking of, because we retained the item, we can get another free hit on Avalugg before getting taken down to 1 and proceeding to finish them off. Yeah, it's too bad she can't hold back. Even if Kingambit's Supreme Overlord was fully powered up, Uncle Jimmy would have still been perfectly safe to take him out. Go-Go may have lived one Torch Song, but no one can live two. You have a wonderful voice though, I'm not gonna lie. Veluza is walled off and chipped away by Manchester, making way for Pete to get the kill. And I did this so that Pete would be ready to take out Gita's ace before they get to pose any threat. I low-key feel like Gita was going easy on me because I'm a student or something. Alright, that's the Elite Four actually completed. Credits are nowhere near rolled yet, so plenty of base game remains. What we have next is a sick and twisted kind of Elite Four, where they're all spread out, and the sick and twisted champion is way spread out. Oddly, Clavel is one of the toughest. I was once again betting on sweeps taking out a handful of Pokemon with Terra Dual Wing Beat, but the lead Oranguru uses Yawn and thwarts all of my hopes and dreams. Now, when Abomasnow tags in, we've already fallen asleep. That sucks, because even though Spoon is relatively fine in this matchup, the defense boost from the Snow plus Aurora Veil is tough to break through. Especially since Spoon doesn't have Tough Claws. Fake Out and Ironhead at least do comparable damage to their Blizzards, so Spoon does her job and commits to the knockout while stalling the Veil. Pete is a free switch to Houndoom and just straight up drowns him, which makes way for Poltegeist. I was really hoping to have sweeps ready for this ghost, but we still have a backup plan, and his name is Neil. While yes, they set up a Shell Smash for free, Neil can only get hurt by Sucker Punch. No stab Shadow Balls in this house, and because they don't try to burn Neil on the following turn, he's free to dig at full power. They remain on the offensive and don't burn us, so we run it back and the teapot shatters. World Champion Among Us is next. Yeah, you know what? I think I yawn? Oh, I can't because the Assault Vest. I was gonna say, if the Among Us is asleep, And if I sent in Hauntikins for free, take out the Amoonguss, we'd have the Sash ready for the Quaquaval, but that was a misplay. Well, like I said, without being able to yawn and having Hauntikins ready for Quaquaval, we could be in trouble. My team's health is getting low, so with Quaquaval's future opportunity to outspeed my whole team with Aqua Step, I'm thinking I might have played a little too fast and loose. Neil stays in for this matchup, and after attacking, we get a very timely Effect Spore activation, functionally making us immune to the incoming Spore. Giga Drain can't break through Assault Vest, so it's only a matter of time before Neil triumphs. The bird of the hour is here. Fully expecting a Brick Break, I switch to Hauntikins. No shot that they do Aqua Step, right? I just noticed it's raining. Huge! Huge! Thunderbolt! We're faster? I guess I need it as a one-shot. Uh-oh! The rain-boosted Aqua Step lands, but my aforementioned Focus Sash comes into play yet again. I love that these things replenish now. The issue here is that I'm not sure if we outspeed anymore thanks to their resulting speed boost. Okay, I mean, Aqua Step is disabled, which is nice, but they still have other moves, so it doesn't matter. They have Ice Spinner and Brick Break. Can I play around this? Because they might outspeed. Quaquaval is base 85, plus 1 brings it up to over 120. We're base 110 speed, but we're also maxed on speed EVs. We're not maxed, actually. If the Quaquaval has a plus speed nature too, that would be really bad. Taken out by Ice Spinner. Dude, what does Pete do here? Pete probably gets outsped. Your speed is 82, so you're already slower than Gengar, so you're gonna get hit by 2 attacks. No matter which way you spin it, Hauntikins is my fastest mon. If I expect to be outsped now, then everyone else would be too. Everyone else would be attacked on the switch, and then again before attacking the next turn. I have to assume Hauntikins can do it unless this Quaquaval is min-maxed. Excluding EVs, Hauntikins outspeeds. Let's go! Huge. Ironically, just like the following fights, Penny's fight is a bit of a breather. But a welcomed one at that. All of her evolutions more or less have hard counters located directly in my team. Sylveon is the only Pokemon of note. However, Ibra was born for this matchup. Ibra? This is what you were made for. You're here to take down Sylveon, so you're going to take down Sylveon. We got a special attack drop, but that's okay. We don't use that anyway. They're in shambles. They think it's going to help, but it's not because you've got this. You've got the Battle Axe sticking right into your Brainiac. Oh, dude. Okay, dude. I thought they outsped for a second. That's fine. That's perfect, actually. That's perfect. Even with an attack drop, I think we're good. We're not good. Well, Mikey resists fairies and has the Choice Scarf. So while we had to fall back on my starter yet again, Ibra at least showed spirit. Armin's battle was more of the same, with most of his Pokemon being straight up outmaneuvered. Some even to my surprise. How much? What? It's once again the ace that's the scariest thing. However, Ibra safely trades some hits thanks to our physical investment, and Natalie tags in with her Anger Shell activating to let her safely finish the fight. Now I hope you guys like Pokemon battles, because here's another! What? Honestly though, most of Nemona's fight is stuff we've handled before. Marcus, for one, easily handles Lycanroc before they set up Stealth Rocks. Ibra isn't the best Goodra counter, but he's an okay check. Muddy Water is probably gonna be the worst part, unless we get frozen. Manchester Protect stalls to pick up the slack. We scout the Palmot with Protect, learning that Hauntikins can switch in for free on close combat. Psychic gets the knockout, baiting in Orthworm. Ibra then returns to save face with Earth Eater, but the opposing body press is still scary, so I pivot to Mikey. Depending on how scandalous I'm feeling, Mikey just might be able to sweep the championship match from here. However, when it comes down to it, even after one special attack boost from defeating Orthworm, I don't feel like we could take out the Dunsparce. I do feel like Uncle Jimmy can though. This might not even kill. Never mind. And to no one's surprise, when the terastallizing ace Meowscarada comes in, Mikey returns to end this cat once and for all, defeating Nemona even when she's trying. Alright, time for the meat. It's been said plenty of times before, but I really feel like Game Freak was developing for the Switch 2 when making these games all along. For lack of a better word, I'd say Area Zero looks complete now, just like a lot of the rest of the game. Oh, by the way, the Paradox Pokemon technically fit as static encounters the first way down, but they're uncatchable. Thank goodness, because I didn't even consider catching them until writing the script. To be honest, guys, I considered buying Pokemon Violet and the DLC just to have a couple version changes. Like this fight. I've fought Professor Sada a bunch of times before, but it's probably better that I have the game knowledge. Speaking of, I know her lead Slitherwing has a glaring weakness, and Sweeps takes advantage of that with her super effective dual wing beat. Yeah, you won't get that kind of game knowledge anywhere else. Bye bye Slitherwing. Screamtail is not much of an offensive Pokemon. Her Drain Punch may be super effective on Ibra, but it pales in comparison to our Iron Head. Brute Bonnet is a little stronger, but is just as fodderized by Ibra's Body Press easy peasy. Good job, Ibra. Unfortunately, this is where our impending sweep ends, because my former Titan will get obliterated by an incoming discharge, which is why I'm caught off guard when Uncle Jimmy eats an Earth Power instead. I guess NPCs don't consider abilities like Earth Eater unless they see it in action first? Either way, Uncle Jimmy is our rock. We protect Stall to recover with leftovers, I pivot to Sweeps on Earth Power, and back to Uncle Jimmy on Discharge just to protect again. By repeating this process, Uncle Jimmy can wiggle his way out of crit kill range and safely take out the faster Sandy Shocks with Earthquake. My answer to the insanely scary Fluttermane is none other than Neil. Between being immune to their only stab move and our Assault Vest, this Paradoxmon simply cannot break through my first ever capture. We even get the one-shot with Iron Head. Man, maybe I should compete in VGC. I've got it all figured out. Last is Roaring Moon, and Neil may or may not survive in this matchup. I'm of the mind that he will not, so I keep him safe and pivot to Marcus. He's all reliable, but he's also in crit kill range. Dang it! Roaring Moon is a monster, and I really need to apply pressure before it's too late. Alright, Marcus, I just need you to avoid one, count it one, crit, okay? Just one, just dodge one single crit. Ooh! Marcus withstands the hit and replies with one of his own. That's all I could have asked for. Now I switch to Honekins, who's still holding the Focus Sash. To my surprise, she isn't forced to use it, which is really weird, but okay, yay. We don't have any priority, so I'm banking this last matchup entirely on the idea that we outspeed. And she does. The Prehistoric Mega falls to a critical Dazzling Gleam, winning us our run of the base game. With Professor Sada defeated, now we can officially enter the post-game. This means that I'll now be allowing myself to use the static legendaries as the DLC's built for it. I won't be counting Koraidon because he's just that good, but Sydney the Ogerpon joins the ranks, and she's not the only one. The Loyal 3, or Lousy 3, whatever you want to call them, are the first guys I attempt to welcome in. Yep, they're all technically legendaries. For the record, I'm gonna counteract my legendary usage by not using damage calcs. I have all the information available, but I think this is a pretty nice sweet spot for difficulty. Again, the Indigo Disc is pretty tough as is. First up is Monkey Dory, because he's the smallest, I guess? I don't know. Manchester is my catching mon, with the help of Yawn, Leftovers, and Protect. But Monkey Dory still puts up a fight. Our traded hits don't have the most ideal transactions, and apparently there are still some things about Pokemon that I've never learned. For example, did you guys know Future Sight goes through Protect? At 120 base power off of a 130 base special attack, Manchester is torn to shreds. I could have just switched to Sweeps, but I genuinely just didn't know Future Sight worked like that. I should have called it at Sada. Man, can I go back? Eventually the monkey wakes up, so I ready Neil to put them back to sleep. I mean, at least they don't see any reason to set up Nasty Plant. I can't use it because I'm in shambles, making mistake after mistake. This is a champion level trainer, everybody. I try again with Pokeball after Pokeball, but this monkey just doesn't want to be caught. For a point of reference, I looked it up, and the Loyal 3 had the same catch rate as Mewtwo. Eventually, he begins to set up Nasty Plots, boosting his already monstrous special attack. Sweeps is my only saving grace thanks to her Psychic immunity, but even still, we're perpetually on the back foot. It gets to the point where I consider running, if it's even possible. But to fully commit to my sunk cost fallacy, I instead use my one and only Master Ball. There are plenty more Pokemon this could and should have been used on, even in this run, but I just wanted this battle to be over with. It's kind of crazy because Pheasantipity and Okidogi were miles easier to capture than Monkey Dory. Like, it wasn't even close. Okay, yay! The newest three are named Garrett, Refrigero Depresso, and Lloyd respectively, but they won't remain the newest for long, because we're about to get controversial again. Okay, so you guys probably already noticed, one of the other things I did off stream was I caught 150 Pokemon in Kitakami in my other save to fill up the Pokedex. So we could just do all of the rest of Perrin's quest immediately. Her quest has you catching 150 Pokemon, and I did it. I did it because I'm a gamer. Like, yeah, you could argue that, oh, you caught the Pokemon in a different save. You shouldn't have done that, and you shouldn't be doing this quest right now. But I would argue I shouldn't be doing this Nuzlocke challenge, period, right now. I shouldn't be going into the DLC, but, you know, I'm going into DLC for some of the hardest vanilla Pokemon content ever. So, you know what? I'm gonna do this, too. To put it in better words than my past self, regarding the Nuzlocke or not, catching 150 Pokemon is the easy, grindy part. The Nuzlocke part is still very present. I promise you that. Perrin meets me by the Timeless Woods as she's mid-photo taking. Our goal here is to lure out what should be the box art Pokemon of Kitakami. But before we get to initiate any bit of our scheme, we get jumped! Alright guys, you got me. I lied. I lied the entire time. I wasn't here for the Moon Ursaluna. I was here for the static event guaranteed encounter Ariados. It's true. It's true. I did all of this just for Ariados. Dude, now we get a critical capture like of all times. All right. Yo, Toxic Thread. What do you guys know about Toxic Thread? Probably the best move in all of Pokemon. Armoko going to be getting a lot of use. Just you wait. Let's be real though. Armoko was more of a malnourishing appetizer. We're in fact here for the Ursaluna. And it would turn out that I bit off more than I could ever hope to chew. This is functionally another Titan fight, making it rather appropriate that I brought 4 of my 5 Titans for this encounter. However, I thought that Perrin would help me in the same way that Arven had before. Instead, she's just here to take pictures. I battled her earlier and she had a Leafeon, by the way. It's actually just me. It's actually, oh no. Okay, I didn't know. Let's see, we're faster? If it uses Calm Mind, I think I'm actually cooked. Ibra is heavily invested in defense, so I expected Body Press to do way more than that. Fortunately, on my next turn, Ibra clutches up a much-needed crit, but the Ursaluna read my mind and begins setting up Calm Mind. We're immune to Earth Power, Slash won't do anything, and I suspect that the Blood Moon attack will need several turns of setting up to do much of anything to us. I just keep attacking full throttle, and Ibra does his best. The Ursaluna knows what's up though, and continues to raise the stakes after the second Calm Mind is used. We attack one more time before attempting to pivot with Shed Tail, but Blood Moon is used early, and it was already enough to take out Ibra. Well, now it hardly matters who I send in. The Vengeful Werebear has set up, apparently, everything he needs to while retaining a sizable amount of health. If you were like me mere moments before this stream, you might be thinking something like, oh, this fight is so cheesable. Hawkins is already immune to the normal attacks, just put the air balloon on her and she can't get hit at all. Well, Blood Moon Ursaluna has a signature ability called Mind's Eye that lets him hit ghost types with normal type attacks. So that idea quickly went out the window. As it stands, Pete, Sweeps, and Uncle Jimmy are my late game answers. Their job was to pick off Ursa once he got low, but that hasn't happened yet. Marcus may or may not outspeed and Leech Seed can miss, so all eyes are on Neil. Come on, Neil, put him to sleep. It's just like the Titan Pokemon. I remember fighting Bombardier and Bombardier getting, like, paralyzed before, right? Should I even take the risk? Because my other idea is using Dig to stall out turns of Blood Moon. Okay, hold on. I'm actually just going to look this up. I'm going for Yawn. I'm going for Yawn. Neil, I believe in you. I'm going for Yawn. I can't use it. That's right. What's wrong with me? Headbutt. Are we faster? Please say we're faster. Please say we're faster. Please say Let's go! Neil, you're in trouble. Oh, no! +3. Dig. That's 2 Blood Moon attacks down. I think you could just use it right now, though. +4? Never in my wildest dreams would I imagine that I'd be relying on an Oink alone for a colossal fight like this. But here we are. By committing to this strat, yes, we can get every use of Blood Moon to be wasted, but it also pretty much guarantees them to max out their special attack and special defense along the way. And guess what? That's exactly what happens. The nuclear attack is no longer available for them, but that doesn't mean that he's out of other nukes. Neil surfaces from the underground one last time before that very ground does him in. You did great, little pig. Oh, and it's at plus special defense too because of Calm Mind, so Surf won't even do anything from Pete. So I have to go to Sweeps because they're out of Blood Moons. Earth Power doesn't hurt her. Why didn't I give Sweeps like... Oh, dude. Like the Sharp Beak or something? I mean, Uncle Jimmy also outspeeds, but I don't think Brick Break is doing it. We do have Terra fighting Brick Break, but it would have to be a 2-shot. I think we send in Sweeps. With no Sharp Beak and no Wide Lens, Sweep raw dogs this fight, and he needs to take out the Ursa with dual Wing Beat before he does the same to us. I'm gonna Terra now for our best shot at keeping everyone else alive, but I do not know. I really bit off more than I could chew, I guess. I thought the Blood Moon or Ursaluna fight would be a little bit easier. Dual Wing Beat. We need the damage. Let's go, it lands, but it's not super effective. Now there was Dig. Oh boy. It does nothing. Slash. Okay, we tank it like a champ, actually. Yet another treacherous back and forth is underway. And while our attack technically has double the opportunity to crit, it never happens. In Sweep's final hour, she misses her attack. And it's actually the Ursa that gets the crit. This is not looking good. And that isn't where the misplays end. Uncle Jimmy is strong, no doubt about it, but I failed to add close combat, headlong rush, or even the booster energy for an increased attack stat. The Brick Break ends up barely missing the knockout, and old Uncle Jimmy ends up as his next victim. I have 3 options remaining. 1, Marcus can knock him out with Seed Bomb if we outspeed. That's a big if. 2, Pete can try to knock out Ursaluna with Surf, but we have to keep in mind Ursaluna is at max special defense thanks to the Calm Minds. Or 3, play the most consistently and risk the 5% miss with Icy Wind to guarantee that Marcus outspeeds to use Seed Bomb. I think long and hard about what I want to do and what to risk, and I decide that my best option is to sacrifice Pete and use Icy Wind. It hurts me to my core, but I've gotta reap what I sow. Thankfully, Icy Wind does land, but the damage informs me that Surf would have been plenty strong enough for the kill. Pete also basically died for nothing. All reliable Marcus enters last, after just seeing so many friends get massacred right before him. He fires off a Seed Bomb with tears in his eyes, finally knocking out Blood Moon Ursaluna. With a Love Ball, Ursumi joins the ranks. Ibra's death may have been inevitable in that fight, but Neil's Assault Vest preventing Yawn sucked. Sweeps missing that one attack sucked. Uncle Jimmy lacking several powerful tools sucked. And Pete being underestimated by me sucked. I didn't think this fight would be that tough, and undercooked my plan, assuming Perrin would help. I haven't been shaken like this by a vanilla game in so long, and we're not even at the Blueberry Academy yet. And the worst part? Perrin's pictures were blurry! She almost makes up for it by giving me my own Hisuian Growlithe. And while Hornet is welcomed in, it'll take me a long time to emotionally recover from this. Man, almost all my Titans are gone! Also, yeah, technically the Ariados and Ursaluna came from the same name location, but I don't know. I thought it'd be more fun for the run to be open to the idea of using Ariados as well. The alternative is that I just don't use Ariados, period. Oh no. Marcus and Ursumi, bad blood running thick between them, work together to deal with Lacey's double battle warm-up. They both prove to be powerhouses, so I've at least got that going for me. Perrin says hi to me again. Hi, Perrin. And Lacey takes us to our first Blueberry lesson. In order to continue the game, I'm required to catch an Alolan variant Pokemon. As someone who's lost half of my original team a second ago, I decided that this would be a good time to cash in on my one wild Terra encounter. I had held off earlier due to my recent Terra run, but coupled with the story event of me catching one, it felt right to include it here. The Terra Fire Alolan Muck is the only option, so Play-Doh ends up as my 5th poison type caught in one stream. Got a lot of ground weaknesses right now. Carmine's Indigo Disc Double Battle maintains its job to help me reacclimate to double battles, so I won't get too caught up in it right now. Just know that my new guys got to stretch their legs and warm up, which is great because they for sure need the prep for what's to come. A brief intermission is had as there are 2 final encounters waiting now, and they happen to be legendaries. Nothing quite like Koraidon, but I do end up getting one of the Treasures of Ruin. And yes, I encountered the best one, Wo-Chien. I'm only allowing one of the 4, and Leaf Litter joins very quickly. Some might say it's because of the catching charm I got in the Indigo Disc, but I actually think it's because I'm cool. The other incident where my coolness shines is back at the terrarium. I spent an embarrassing amount of time getting it to work, but eventually I get Meloetta to spawn. Again, a static Pokemon through and through. And I don't know if or when I'd ever use this mystical Pokemon ever again. But considering how much trouble I had with Ursumi, it may not be enough. Also, for full transparency, Meloetta was in the coastal biome just like Muck. But like, come on, I'm trying to have fun here. Static Claws. Well, here we go. No calcs versus maxed IVs, maxed EVs, competently built teams was always gonna be terrifying. My only real advantage here is that I've done this before. Crispin leads with a Tailwinding Talonflame and a bulky Rotom Heat. In order to prevent those two from setting up and ruining my entire life, I'm leading with Hornet the Arcanine and Garrett the Monkey Dory. I really needed to catch Garrett to make these fights as smooth as possible, because his fake out is crucial for preventing Tailwind from being set up. But that wouldn't matter anyways if Rock Slide misses, so we're holding the wide lens to pretty much guarantee the knockout. Talonflame goes down, and Rotom only burns Garrett. Focus Sash is irrelevant now, but that's fine. Camerep's coverage boosted by his Expert Belt is nothing to scoff at, with Earth Power being the biggest problem. That move into either one of my mons would be the correct play, so I make a small gamble and switch Sydney in for Hornet. And Garrett uses Parting Shot to weaken the Volca and bring out Finite. My Meloetta actually eats the predicted Hex for free, while Sydney takes minimal Earth Power damage. A gamble well made. Honestly, Finite's whole thing is Relic Song. With Serene Grace, she has a 20% chance of landing asleep on each of the opposing Pokemon. So after using Spiky Shield, we take the risk, and no one sleeps. Ah well, Finite is invested in HP, so I think we're fine. Thanks to the chip damage, the comboed Hyper Voice and Rock-type Ivy Cudgel get a double knockout on the following turn. Magmortar and Exeggutor are next to come out, and we need to get risky again. Both of these guys have some intimidating opportunities, but what's even scarier is the Sunny Day being set up. Finite's Relic Song drops, and it's the Magmortar who falls asleep. Which is fine, but I really wanted the Palm Tree to sleep, because Mag just goes down to Ivy Cudgel anyway. Finite tanks the Psyshock, but she's getting low. The Terrafire Blaziken finally appears, and because of the nature of Temper Flare, doubling attack power if the previous move fails, it's too risky to use Spiky Shield and stall for sleep chances. Not to mention their speed boost activating every turn. So we stay on the offensive and finally terrestrialize Sydney. Crispin does the same, but that's just what I wanted. On this turn we get to outspeed, and now the super effective IG Cudgel one-shots the Blaziken before they can do anything. Ivy Cudgel should just do it now, without a doubt, right? Yeah, who needs damage calcs? I got it all balanced out. It's all fair. I'm using legendaries. Without Sun support, Exeggutor continues to be dead weight, and we proceed to defeat Crispin. Both times I've done this DLC in a Nuzlocke format, Crispin gives me some stress. Hopefully this run follows the previous one, and gives me an easier time going forward. With Amari's leading a Focus Sash Dugtrio and a sturdy Stealth Rock Skarmory, I lead with a similar strategy from before with Garrett and Sydney. Both Pokemon are worth using Fake Out on, but I double up on Dugtrio to rid them of their offensive pressure. Rocks go up, but it's a double battle, so it's fine. Scizor takes the most place, so we Terra early. Sydney's holding the Fire Mask now, so when she Terras, she gets an attack boost. Last time the Rock Terra gave her a defensive boost, but it didn't matter. I committed to Terra so we could for sure break through Scizor's Occa Berry. And we do. We start getting some damage on Skarmory, but it's really not much of a threat now. They Whirlwind Sydney out, but Play-Doh is fine here. Even with Empoleon here, the Assault Vest should keep us relatively safe. I will say though, I really thought our double up would do more. Hydro Pump does even less though, thanks to their Mystic Water being knocked off. Skarmory Whirlwinds Garrett, which is perfectly fine actually. Sydney is back. Low Sweep from Sid obliterates Empoleon, and Play-Doh gets some extra damage on Skarm. Even with another Whirlwind, this is going great. This might be the best case scenario. The +1 Ivy Cudgel barely misses the knockout on the recently sent out Reuniclus, but Hornet just finishes them off with the Rockhead Flare Blitz. Another Whirlwind gives us our final matchup, and it doesn't last for long. Ivy Cudgel tears through Metagross despite their invested bulk, and then Mikey tags in late, only to watch Sydney get the job done. It was a comparatively much simpler fight, but these double battles really take a lot to explain regardless. I feel like I'm brushing through everything, even with how long this video is getting. What do you guys think? Should I handle this different later? In the future? Admittedly, Lacey's fight was a little scarier than I expected. Just like the others, one of her leads is great at setting up her team. and the other one is great at protecting her. No matter what, we have to stop Whimsicott from tailwinding. So Garrett fakes out again, while Hauntikins finishes her off with Sludge Bomb. I was hoping Lacey would return the attacks with a scuffed high horsepower into Hauntikins, with us evading thanks to the air balloons, but I always forget that the AI sees the air balloons. So after the cotton ball perishes, Garrett is brought to his sash. Honestly, I was contemplating who should get the sash, and if I gave it to Hauntikins and she was the one who was damaged, then that would have been better. I kinda wanted Garrett to finally use that special attack stat he used on me before. Primarina enters and is bulkier than ever. I wasn't expecting this, and these slight changes in my line this early send me spiraling. I don't come up with any switches, so I opt to Terra my OG Ghost to boost our poison damage on Primarina, hoping to take her out before she can attack. Oh, we're Ghost. That's okay. I thought we were Terra Poison. It was not okay. Parting Shot weakens Prima just in case, and swaps Garrett out of there in place of Leaf Litter, whose presence weakens all physical attacks. By the way, it looks like Terra Poison would have done the trick. Listen man, both Terra icons were purple, okay? Primarina uses the super effective Shadow Ball in return. And we live! Hauntikins can easily get the kill from here, but I'm going Deathless as long as possible. She switches spots with the Assault Vested Play-Doh, but Primarina uses Moonblast on Leaf Litter? What? Giga Drain makes up for it, but what the heck? Expert Belt Grand Bull is kind of a problem. Oh! It's really a problem. Dude, what happened to this fight? Now Slowbro is here threatening with Quick Draw priority. At least I got rid of Tailwind. Refrigero makes his proper debut, and is one of my bulkiest mons right now. Play-Doh manages to land Gunk Shot on Granbull, getting the one-shot, and Refrigero tanks Slowbro's attacks before healing a little back with Black Sludge. We might be back? Alcremie is a really good support mon in this fight, so I immediately try to attack it. But Slowbro's Quick Draw activates and lets them hit a nasty Psychic before we can move. Refrigero survives, so Cross Poison lands after all, and Toxics Alcremie with Toxic Chain. But because they survive, Slowbro gets an attack boost from Decorate. Uh-oh. Hey, okay. I had a very wrong understanding of that. They're now at +2 to both attacking stats, and while Knockoff does nice damage, it won't do as much next time without them holding an item anymore. This isn't looking good. I guess, like, the condition in where no one dies is if Quick Draw doesn't activate. Even if we doubled up this turn, though, like, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have taken them out. Yeah, it went off. There they go, for Psychic again. They're gonna keep doing that, without a doubt. I'm playing while betting it all on Quick Draw not activating. And the following turn, it works out as Refrigero gets extra damage on Alcremie, and Play-Doh outspeeds to finally take out Slowbro. And the Toxic is finally enough to take out the cake. We're almost done. Fairy Terra Excadrill is all that's left, and while it lacks all of the support he wants, he's still threatening. Refrigero protects the stall a turn and get Ursumi in there. I can finally use my Secret Box Legendary. I really need to keep Refrigero alive, and as a lot of my team is weak to ground, I don't have many choices left. What I end up doing is switch back to Play-Doh in that slot. He's at least bulky and at full health. Play-Doh just really needs to live the one attack. Play-Doh, you live this, you obviously live this every season. Oh. Really? What? Really? Silk Scarf boosted, by the way. Well, Garrett is now free to return and open Excadrill up to a knockout with Fake Out. The way is made for Usumi's Earth Power to land, finally getting me out of that fight. Man, rest in peace, Play-Doh. I guess I don't understand this game's AI as much as I thought. The Dragon user can't be that much more difficult, right? Well, yes and no. I learned a little too late that the level cap is actually 80 and not 81, so a couple mons overleveled, including Ursumi, who would have been amazing here. The game was too easy, guys. You're welcome. Now it's engaging. Also, like all the others, it feels like, this battle went on for about 25 minutes. So, let's see how it went. To counter Drayton's damage with Flygon and Tailwind with Dragonite, this time I'm leading with Spoon and Hornet. Spoon is my substitute Fake Out user for a few reasons, But the two big reasons are his access to Play Rough, and I want to keep Garrett safe. I also thought Spoon would bait Earthquake, which Hornet would be safe from with the air balloons, but nope, they just land Stone Edge. Man, that's so spiteful. Luckily we lived and a Rock Slide lands, but this really isn't the start we needed. Due to Hornet being so low, I knew we'd be a target and used Protect. Surprisingly, even Dragonite went for the kill with Extreme Speed, but it didn't matter, and Flygon uses the Life Orb boosted Earthquake after all. Spoon is fine to live 1 thanks to the Shuka Berry, but man, I really needed Play Rough to land on Flygon. The miss is very bad for us. I mean, all of them are, but this one in particular is unfortunate. Ursumi wouldn't have missed that Moonblast. Fishing for a double Protect sounds oddly appealing right now, but it's too early in the fight to make plays like that. Instead, I switch Hornet for Leaf Litter. My hope was that the Tablets of Ruin would maybe help Spoon survive the next Earthquake, but not quite. My bad, little guy. Well, actually, it was kind of your bad for missing Play Rough if you think about it, but that's neither here nor there. Haphazardly, I send Hornet back into the fray. I didn't have much of a plan past protecting, but the other team members absolutely could not afford any early damage. We get appropriate mileage from Protect, but Leaf Litter's knockoff doesn't do nearly as much as I was hoping. Ideally, E-Speed would be enough to finish off Dragonite, but that isn't quite the case, and Hornet goes down. Who's gonna tell Perrin? After eating another Earthquake, Leaf Litter finishes off Flygon with knockoff. Were these first several turns sloppy? Yup. I predict Drayton's Sceptile to be out next, so I send in Refrigo to support Leaf Litter. I expect nasty X-Scissors coming their way, so after protecting on one side, I start sending Charms on the other. If we get this starter to -6, we may be good. Also, Ice Spinner is no problem. I guess they don't care about Tailwind anymore? On the following turn, they double up into Leaf Litter, but with all of the nerfs at play, including our other charm into Dragonite, we managed to survive. The Wiki Berry heals up my Snail, and we get some chip on Sceptile. As per the nature of bulkier mons, this next section gets a little slow. What it boils down to is a repeated charm, protect, and damage whenever necessary. Eventually, Sceptile fully becomes dead weight, and Refrigo gets the kill on Dragonite. Finally. The weird thing here is that Kingdra comes out next instead of Haxorus. Leaf Litter would like to go for a double Protect here to survive the Ice Beam or Hurricane, and it's because of the Hurricane chance that I can't confidently switch into the Grass-type Sydney. We end up making a gamble and stay in with the hopes of Kingdra setting up the Rain. And they do! Refrigo does over half and poisons them with Moonblast, while Leaf Litter knocks off the Expert Belt. Sceptile is still a non-issue. We take minuscule damage from Acrobatics and protect the next turn before taking out the Kingdra, making way for Haxorus. In the same way that they set up Rain Dance, I expected them to set up Dragon Dance. However, they use Earthquake, and it's honestly kinda pitiful. It'll be even more pitiful the next turn thanks to Charm, and with Focus Sash knocked off, Moonblast takes him out easy peasy. With one turn of Rain remaining, Archaludon has a free one-turn use of Electroshot. However, there's an easy way for me to play around this, and that involves me switching to my Ground-type Marcus and Protect with Refrigo. However, Drayton predicted me and uses a Terra-boosted Dragon Pulse. Now that's interesting. Alrighty, well, Protect and Moonblast, let's run it. Sceptile gets a crit, it's so over. It's so over, but I don't really have any other options here. Oh, it's a 3-hit. Oh, it's a 2-hit! Let's go! Okay, so now I gotta be worried about, oh. Oh no! I guess he's the highest ranked Elite Four member for a reason. Refrigo Depresso was on track to be an MVP, but sadly, his run was cut short. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's got booby traps. Sydney enters for free as my only healthy mon, and her play rough will be strong. But not strong enough with the Archaludon's stamina boost. Marcus will die if he stays in, but that slot is guaranteed to take a hit unless we get the double protect. At the end of the day, I switch Marcus out with Leaf Litter, because I cannot bear to say goodbye to one of my favorite starters. Sydney does her best at playing roughly with Archaludon, but a Dragon Pulse inevitably devastates Leaf Litter and their health. Down to 2 Pokemon, I Terra City to get rid of the Grass typing and finally get a knockout on the Sceptile. Marcus protects the Archaludon's incoming attack, which means we've stalled out the Ace, and he goes down to the Toxic that was set by Refrigo earlier. The Blueberry Elite Four is complete at long last, and that was only the second most devastating fight of the game. Could I have played better? Well, I don't know. Could Wolfglick have won that previous world championship? Yes, I'm Wolf in this scenario. Can't wait to see what Kieran has in store. Speaking of, my Now or Never redeem was claimed around this time, and it works just like it did in Nuzlocke and Load 3, with a couple changes. When this redeem is made on my stream, across any game, I have to go to the next boss ASAP, with gifted subs on the line. Before, I would go with the team that I had on hand, but yeah, 2 Pokemon won't be cutting it. My compromise for compiling a team from the box is that 1, I won't be leveling to Kieran's level cap, and 2, I won't change the movesets of anyone. These terms were agreed upon by the Frosty Beans, our resident gambler, and now I'll be using every bit of game knowledge I have on Pokemon Scarlet to make this work. One of the hardest champions in Pokemon is up next. It's Now or Never. Alright, I'm really lucky that he's not like a rain-based team. Oh dude, the odds are so stacked against me. Look at this, I have an Ariados. The plan by default includes sacrifices. Even if I could change the movesets and reach level 82, that fact would not change. Garrett's job is to fake out the Dragonite just to prolong his insane damage output, while also breaking his multiscale, and to make sure our Moko doesn't go down from getting doubled up on. This way, our Moko always lives with Focus Sash to set the sticky webs. But I guess Kieran saw more damage on Garrett and sends a Weather Ball his way. Just like against Lacey, this is bad. I need to get Garrett out of there as soon as possible, so I lock in Parting Shot given that we're the fastest. But I overlooked Extreme Speed and quickly lost my first mod of the fight. Yeah, that was a big misplay. Our Moko takes the Weather Ball without using the Focus Sash and lands the signature move Toxic Thread. Actually, the run might be saved. Who knows? You know what's crazy? If I just hard switched, we would have gotten hurt. We would have gotten hurt by E-Speed, but we would have healed it up with Water Absorb. While I'm sad about Garrett's untimely demise, I'm still not sweating the fight too much. Sydney the Ogerpon is my ace in the hole, and that's because I've heard time and time again, fun fact, if you use Ogerpon in the Kieran fight, he always focuses her down, even if it's not optimal. I've heard that from multiple different creators on multiple posts, so we full send it. I switch our Moko to Finite, while Sydney uses Spiky Shield to absorb any and all damage done to her. Spiky Shield. Please be Hurricane, please be Hurricane. Huh? What? Is that was I reading lies? Not only did Kieran focus down Ariados, but he also didn't care to use Hurricane on Ogerpon? It's okay, Finite survived. Maybe it had something to do with our Moko being low or something. Alright, well, let's Terra Sydney to get her embodiment aspect to boost her special defense. And let's protect with Finite since she's obviously in kill range like our Moko was. Wait, what? Playref can land? Lucky. Part of me wants to... Weather Ball would have taken her out. As you can tell, I have no idea what's going on. Adaptability Life or Porygon Z enters, and those Hyper Beams are nasty. I guess I still have the Sticky Webs up, so we have that going for us. Sydney Spiky Shields and Finite uses Relic Song, and does manage to sleep Porygon, which is pretty nice. But... Dude! What even? I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it. I don't get it, he's breaking my ankles. Both Porygon Z and Politoed have Ice Beam, so none of my Pokemon are really safe to enter. But I have to choose someone. Ursumi will be able to do a lot, especially if I know he baits Ice Beams. And by a lot, I mean he could at least protect once while Sydney knocks off the Porygon Z, while they live and wake up. They woke up. Ow, no! Well, clearly, Politoed is going to attack Sydney now. He has a grudge, and she's at 2. Porygon Z is recharging, and I think we outspeed. Sadly, without Hornleech equipped, we cannot take out the Politoed in one hit. Maybe a double up, but Ursumi is slower. No way, I actually blocked something with Protect? But, I don't know, was it a roll? Blood Moon does not take out the Politoed, and I honestly have no idea why. All of my Pokemon have max EVs, by the way, and Ursumi's special attack is no exception. In hopes of keeping Sydney alive, she pivots out to our Moko for a sacrifice. Hate to do it, but them's the breaks. Then we Moonblast. Who do you want to take out here?
I guess if Porygon Z happens to go for Hyper Beam again, then that'll be worth playing around. But yeah, there's no way they don't always go for... Yeah. Oh my gosh! What? Wait, what? Did you end the run? No, the run's alive.
Sydney and Marcus are all that's left. And whether or not I've learned anything from this fight, I still can't risk not protecting Sydney on her return. I guess I could have attacked with her to knock out Politoed, and let Marcus take out the Porygon Z with Headlong Rush, instead of trying to get the double knockout with Bulldoze. But then Marcus would have had lower defenses from the attack. But I guess that would have been better than tanking an Ice Beam? I don't know. Grimmsnarl and Incineroar come out next with Kieran's ace still in the back. At this point, it should come to no one's surprise that we cannot make it out of this anymore. But it should come to your surprise that even in the 11th hour, Kieran saved Sydney to be his final kill. He didn't focus her down at all, he actually did the opposite. After the loss, I really tried to figure out what I did wrong in this scenario. Like, was there really no way out with the now or never? Well, I actually went back to redo the fight and did my best to play without the help of any hindsight. I found out during my second run of the battle that we ended up just predicting a bunch of 50-50s incorrectly. Even on the first turn of the retry, Kieran went into Armoko after all. The battle was full of interactions like this, and on the second try, I won the fight with both Ursumi and Sydney still alive. The now or never had nothing to do with it. I was just unlucky. Thank you all so much for watching today, especially if you've made it to the end. I stream somewhat regularly on Twitch if you'd like to see some of these runs live. I also have a nickname redeem over there, which is where I got a lot of these nicknames from. But if you prefer to stay on YouTube, then I recommend you check out my other videos where I do Nuzlocke runs like this all the time. Once again, thank you all so much for watching today. It really means a lot. I'll see you guys next time, and have a good one.